umunsi wanze kwira twibuka ijoro ryanze gutana.
Before I start my speech, I would like also to thank Daddy Di Maximo from Daddy Di Maximo Art Peace Center, Rwanda Matisi, and Michaela Bendiksen from Refugees Welcome Denmark for their hard work in making this event happen. What happened in Rwanda 28 years ago was horrendous atrocities against the Tutsi people of Rwanda, and without question, crimes against humanity and the human rights of the Rwandan people. It will forever stand as a dark moment in history, not only the history of Rwanda, but the history of mankind. Today, we remember all those who perished, and we honor those who survived. The Rwandan genocide showed us how bloody and deadly national division can become when it goes on for years or even decades. As we gathered here to commemorate the genocide in Rwanda, I believe we owe it to ourselves, the people of Rwanda, and people murdered in genocide all over the world throughout history. To remember that something as horrific and heartless as genocide doesn't happen overnight. In Rwanda, dehumanizing language was used for almost 30 years to cultivate hatred before the atrocities of 1994 took place. When I look around the world today, I have to admit that I see a lot of hatred and national divide building. Here in Denmark, politicians and people in power has been dividing the country and fueling hate for more than 20 years. And all over Europe, the view is the same. When I look around Muslims and people of the Middle East in particular is now the outgrowth. On a daily basis, Muslims across Europe is marginalized as criminals, dangerous extremists, and savage foreigners. Even politicians in this country speaks of the replacement of Europe's indigenous population by Middle Eastern Muslims and a threat to the people and to democracy itself. In Denmark, we even divide people by law now. It does not matter if you are born in this country or not. If your parents came here from a majority Muslim country, you have a different set of rules to live by than your ethnic Danish neighbor. 1 in 10 children born in Denmark does not get a Danish citizenship from the birth and are therefore not allowed to participate in the democracy they were born in. When civil society made an effort to get more minority people out to vote at our latest election, we even had politicians calling it undemocratic. The fear of this kind of national division turning into violence is very real. History is filled with tragic chapters of hatred and persecution that have led mass violence against persecuted minorities. Unfortunately, we cannot change history. We cannot go back in time and change the course of actions that led to the genocide of the Tutsi people in Rwanda. But we have a responsibility to learn from history and to do our very best to make sure that it does not repeat itself.
Thank you very much. So for the next topic on our agenda, we will watch a short documentary on the hate speech of the genocide.
When I heard it for the first time, I said, my God, this is, everybody felt that there is something new. People were like hypnotized.
ikindi cyemezo cya kabiri ni uko nitumara kurwanya iyo guverinoma tuzashyiraho guverinoma nziza iharanira inyungu za rubanda nyamwinshi y'abahutu.
naho Ngirumpatse Matayo wari perezida wa MRND yatanze amabwiriza yo gukwirakwiza interahamwe mu gihugu hose. Icyakurikiyeho namwe murabizi.
Natanze amabwiriza ko mu kwezi kwa karindwi interahamwe zigomba kuba ziri mu makomini yose. Nahamagaye abakozi bacu bari mu maperefegitura ngo bazabivugane n'abaperezida ba MRND mu maperefegitura. Dufite uburyo tuzabafasha, ndashaka kandi ntagomba kuvuga hano uburyo mu kwezi kwa karindwi interahamwe zizaba ziri hose.
The next speaker on the agenda is the founder of the Nordic Memorial Museum on the Genocide against the Tutsi, Daddy Art Center. He will be talking about teaching the genocide against the Tutsi through visual art.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Dr. Lian, the Ambassador for Rwanda in 14 countries, Honorable dear Excellencies, Ambassadors, and the Head of Mission, dear member of the Board of Nordic Memorial Commission on Genocide against the Tutsi, dear Rwandan friends, dear country representative of different organizations. My name is Daddy Maximo Muichira Mitali. I'm from Rwanda and I'm the survivor of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Nordic Memorial Museum on Genocide against the Tutsi, Daddy Maximo Art Peace Center, will be a memorial dedicated to the million and the plus victims of the genocide against the Tutsi that happened in Rwanda in 1994 through the study, documentation, interpretation, and awareness raising of the history of the genocide against the Tutsi. Our mission to the documentation, study, interpretation of the genocide against the Tutsi, the root of genocide, and the production of different programs such as exhibitions, research, and publication using material and evidence, art, and artifact related to the genocide.
Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity first of all to thank all those who came here to be with us. Thank you. This particular day, 11th of April, is commemorated in Rwanda in a particular way, more than other days. We have a mourning week which runs from the 7th to 13th April, but 11th is a special day when thousands of Rwandans were abandoned by the United Nations force at Kicukiro Technical School. And that day, they were all killed. So when we see you members of international community being with us, we feel supported, and they also feel there is hope. The hopelessness that was that day, 28 years ago, maybe is getting diminished. I was asked to talk about the role of politicians, and in particular the MPs, because the MPs are members of parliament and also politicians. Genocide is a political crime. So usually, wherever it happens, it's a political decision that is taken to get rid of a particular group of people. And that's what genocide means. And that was in 1948 when the United Nations adopted the Genocide Convention. It was again a political decision to bring back the past in order to get rid of this crime, which was described by this convention as odious. Odious indeed. When you hear testimonies, what you have just heard from the genocide against the Tutsi was the second most horrific was the first horrific war after the genocide against the Jews several years later. In the year 2000, early 2000, the Organization of African Unity published a report titled Preventable Genocide. They were referring to the genocide against the Tutsi, that this is a genocide that was preventable. Why was this genocide against the Tutsi referred to as preventable? In 1994, with 35 years after all signs of an impending genocide started appearing. The first genocidal massacres in Rwanda started on the All Saints' Day in 1959. I survived that one when I was just 6 months old. There are some who did not survive it, but there were recurrent genocidal massacres since 1959. And one would say the Belgian administration knew about it because Rwanda was still under the Belgian rule. There were several more massacres in 1962, but the most horrific ones was 1963, again, killings which started on the eve of Christmas. Politicians were behind the creation of this heinous crime, which went on for a long period of time. The genocide was preventable because all steps which leads to a genocide were government instigated, institutionalized, and public. One would think what was going on was a secret. It wasn't a secret. The propaganda against the Tutsis frequently, systematically, was on the airwaves of a national radio. The government had created musical groups to compose, sing, and find as much as airspace that would accommodate the hateful language against the Tutsi. The dehumanization of the Tutsi is not something that was privy to individuals who were just praising. It was from the speeches of presidents, ministers, Catholic bishops and some Protestant bishops, and whoever showed how hateful he is or she is was promoted because of that. That genocide was preventable. If you look at the list of those who were on the top of spewing the vitriolic propaganda, some of them were married to Tutsis, including President Kaganda, several ministers, 2 people who became speakers of the parliament, and they were proud to be spreading this hatred against the people whose wives belonged to genocide in Rwanda was sort of a legalized crime. One of the stages of genocide is, or steps, is a discrimination. Discrimination was something that was public. Tutsis grew up knowing that they had no right to school. They would just sneak and get a chance to get to school. They had no right. They would be employed, but they knew they would be sacked any time. They were just occupying a space of the rightful owners. Because it was very public that Tutsis were considered as foreigners who should be gotten rid of. And in Nyabarongo, this river was an ideological river whose source of this fake news was from European anthropologists who said Tutsis came from outside and from somewhere in the north. And when in 1992 the politician they showed you when he was saying we're going to send them back to Ethiopia, he was not the one who created this fake ideology. It dates back from colonial times. Politicians were at the helm of creating this hate radio you heard about in the documentary. And the majority of those who were members or who were shareholders of this radio were politicians, senior politicians, including the president of Rwanda, several members of parliament, senior military officials, businessmen who were close to the president, and others. But since the issue was what was the role of the members of parliament in this whole thing? One, the hate against the Tutsis was legalized. I'll give you an example. In 1975, Rwandan Parliament or Rwandan government ratified 2 conventions, but with the reservations. The 1948 Jenoside Convention, the 1965 International Covenant on the Elimination of All Forms of Nations. On the Jenoside Convention, the reservation was on Article 9, and on the Convention of the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination was on Article 22. If you read the Article 22 of the Genocide Convention, was all about not to be held responsible when a country said Rwanda practiced genocide ideology, or there was racial discrimination that was institutionalized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tom Lehio. I think it's a very valid point that we are seeing this hate speech reproduced all over our European countries. So the next speaker will be Michaela Clancy-Bendiksen. Michaela is chairperson of Refugees Welcome. She's the country director at European website on integration. She's a member of the board of directors of the Nordic Memorial Museum on Genocide Against the Tutsi, Art Peace Center. And she's here to give a personal account of words, refugees, and Rwanda.
First, let me thank this overwhelming number of ambassadors and representatives from so many countries for attending. And let me thank Mrs. Ambassador Diane Gachemba for supporting this event and trusting our little group to organize it this year. Let me also thank Member of Parliament Sikandar Siddique and his staff for generously hosting this event and helping us to highlight the issue. I was not planning to speak today, but I was asked to share some of my thoughts and personal angles, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. The reason for us all being here now is a person which I'm very proud to call my closest friend through many years, Daddy de Maximo Muitira Mutan. One of the most extraordinary persons I have ever met. Over those years, he has taught me about an historical disaster which most Danes only vaguely know about from a Hollywood movie. I learned about the horrors that Daddy himself had barely survived, and I learned about the scale of pain and killing that took place. But I also learned about the beauty of Rwanda, the rich culture, and the impressive recovery that has taken place over the last 28 years. I wanted to go and see it for myself, and I did so in the company of another amazing Danish Rwandese, my dear friend Georgette, who's here today also. Driving through Kigali at night for the first time, I felt a strange sense of coming home. I returned to Rwanda twice on my own, and I constantly missed the country. An outstanding place in every way, living up to the adjective invented by Daddy, wonderful. Just like words can lead to so much pain and oppression in the world, words are also the only weapon we have to fight it. It was newspaper articles about children stuck in Danish asylum camps that made me engage in their cases 50.
The next speaker will be Mr. Gilles Ulban Sugira, student of the University of Europe for Applied Sciences, Germany, and he's a poet and will talk about the dry river flows again.
Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Gilles Sugira. I'm Rwandan and based in Berlin, Germany. And I'll start by reading one of Daddy de Maximo's writings about the genocidal language. So the killing of the Tutsi during the genocide was accompanied by words, abbreviations, allusions, innuendos, and proverbs, different terms that infiltrated every region and permeated the minds of everyone and guided collective behavior in authoritative and irrefutable manners. And at first coded, we must cut down tall trees. The injunctions quickly became explicit and ruthless and turned into, we must kill all the Tutsi. So before entering the genocide, words played an important role in order to communicate with each other and to transmit messages. So the genocidaires diverted them from their original meanings, giving them a different one. They used them to incite hatred, to spread it and amplify it. So this is how they imposed verbs such as ukora, which means, or which translates to work.
The next speaker will be Mr. Knud Henholm Lau. He's an author and expert in media referees, and his topic will be consequences and implications of apocalypse language, Nazi language, and terminology. And you are welcome to stand.
Your Excellencies, Madam Ambassadors, Mr. Ambassadors, members of the Rwandan diaspora, staff of refugees, welcome, dear attendees. It's really a great honor to speak here today, and I appreciate very much the theme chosen, how words can lead to disaster. The German Jewish professor of literature, Victor Klemperer, was the first scholar to analyze the language of perpetrators prior to and during genocide. The notes for his book, LTI, this one in a Danish edition, The Language of the Third Reich, were written while the Holocaust was going on, and his observations are valuable contributions to our theme. He mastered the Latin language and called the book Lingua Tertii Imperii. He was sarcastic and cautious at the same time. So he used the acronym LTI for Lingua Tertii Imperii, both to make fun of the Nazis' attraction to abbreviations and to conceal the subject of his manuscript. Every second week, 2 Gestapo officers whom he called the Spitter and the Boxer showed up. Their capacities did not include literacy in Latin, luckily for him. I will read you a single page to demonstrate his framework and method. It's about a small factory at which he, as a Jew, was ordered to work. The story reminds a bit of the Schindler's List story, because the employer was quite friendly to everybody, including the Jews, and his fellow co-workers were, most of them, kindly to him. Most friendly of all was the hunchback Frida, who had trained me and continued to help me when I got into difficulties with my envelope machine. She had worked for the firm for more than 30 years and did not let even the foreman prevent her from shouting an encouraging word to me about the noise of the machine room. "Don't be so pompous." I didn't talk to him. I simply gave him an instruction regarding the coming machine, she would say. Frida knew that my wife was lying ill at home. In the morning, I found a big apple in the middle of my machine. I looked over to Frida's workplace, and she nodded to me. A little later, she was standing next to me. "Oh, Mama," with my best wishes. And then the mixture of inquisitiveness and surprise. "Albert says that your wife is German. Is she really German?" The pleasure in the apple was gone. This Sancta Simpliciter soul, whose feelings were entirely un-Nazi and humane, had been infected by the most fundamental ingredient of the National Socialist poison. She identified Germanness with the magical concept of the Aryan. It was barely conceivable to her that a German woman could be married to me, to a foreigner, a creature from another branch of the animal kingdom. All too often she had heard and repeated the term "Fremd," alien, and Deutschblütig of German blood, and Niederrassisch of inferior race, and Deutschblütig of German blood, and Nordic, and Rassenschande, racial defilement. She certainly didn't have any clear picture of what this all meant, but her feelings could not grasp the fact that my wife could be a German. A Jew cannot be a German cannot be a Jew. The parallels are easy to find. A Tutsi could not be a true Rwanda. A Muslim cannot be an European or a Dane.
Thank you so much. Allow me to present my message while I'm studying. And it's on behalf of my parents, our elders here today, and dear Rwandans, as a message that we are here and we are standing strong to never let it happen again. Your Excellencies, ambassadors, and the High Commissioners, distinguished guests, fellow beloved Rwandans, as our President Paul Kagame said, they dug a hole for us and buried us, but they didn't know where the seeds that would grow. My name is Umuza Gisa Loik. I'm a very proud Rwandan today. I'm a global governance student and scholar, majoring in political science, law and history at the University of Rome, Tor Vergata in Italy. Today marks the 28th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. And allow me to mention today, 11th of April, my mom and dad's family, extended families, were killed a miserable death on this day. A day like this in April 11, in 1994, was the deadline for us to have at least seen them. So allow me to commemorate them. I'm 24 years now. I was born 4 years after the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. And I was raised by the genocide survivors, both my two parents. I grew up with no grandparents, no aunties, no uncles. We lost almost our extended families before we even knew them. They were killed miserably, and their properties were found down to leave not even a single picture or a sign of them to be remembered. I'm standing here, I know my parents, they had parents, but I don't even know how they look like, not even a picture of them, because they were killed and their houses were found to not even be remembered. Like many young people of my generation, having a happy childhood is a story to tell. Sometimes we could tell in the eyes of our parents that we are demanding more they have received. We could see it in their eyes that we are demanding more than what they have. The genocide against Tutsi in 1994 left our roots abandoned and struggled. Our era, I mean the post-genocide generation, we were born in an era of choices, full of puzzles, of choosing either between negativity or positivity, impossibility or possibility, divisionism or togetherness, evil or good. As our president said, President Paul Kagame, we have a choice. Today, I stand here as a young people, as a young generation, and I tell you we have flourished from the left seat. I stand here today, I strongly embrace the responsibility to be the voice of voiceless, innocent lives.
Thank you very much, Musa. Strong. And it's also in line with what we know from the Gen X and millennials across the planet, that you are the coming generations, the future. You are the ones who are saying no to business as usual and creating unity. And very inspired, thank you. So as we know, this commemoration of the 28th year of the genocide against the Tutsi, I would like us all to have 1 minute of silence, beginning from now.
niba tuyobowe n'urukundo imfubyi zareka kwigunga abamugaye n'abapfakazi baseke abasizwe iheruheru bamenwe amaganya yimuke twizere niba tuyobowe
wacu n'umwana wacu wewe ukuntu bamwishe bamufashe yari yaragiye gusura mama we Bugesera bamuta muri Nyabarongo nawe nyine nawe baramufata baramushikura mu isekuru n'umuhini.
Hush my baby, please don't cry, let me sing your lullaby. Through the heavens of
baduhurije ko bamutemye umuhanga. Ubwo rero intwaro zamwishe twafatamo urupanga muri icyo gihe cyo mu saa saba ku itariki ya 10 y'ukwezi kwa kane.
kuko niwe watumye menya kwandika no kumenya ibintu byose twigaga icyo gihe. Amaze no gupfa kwiga byarananiye, natakaje imyaka 2. Hari Claudette yari umwana uzi ubwenge kuva mu mwaka wa mbere yiga iba mu wa mbere nta wundi wamucagaho kugeza ageze segonderi. Yanibuka dutekerereza yigaga esi 9 yahoraga atubwira ko azavura. Yari umwana kuko yarakiza akanicara ku bibero akavuga mama ntukira, akabwira ko bimusigire umwana bibuka mu kwigisha abantu ko batagomba kugira umwana kuko umwana ni igitambambuga nta kintu abazi.
Je serai président.
urukundo rero rubuze abantu batabara, aho urukundo ruri baratabara.
I was asked that we do not clap after this video. I think it's you don't have to be a parent to feel the pain. The next message is from 5 children, 5 mothers from the Women community in Denmark who will deliver a message to us.
Intango y'ishyano yabaye urupfu, bene Rwanda bapfa bahagaze, gucura inkumbi biba nk'umurimo, abashakanye baratemana, abana bicwa n'abababyara, twarapfushije abanyabwenge.
we remember our loved ones killed during the genocide against the Tutsi.
Ihorere Rwanda, ihorere Rwanda, amarira warize arahagije. Ihorere Rwanda.
Today we remember and honor our grandparents, aunties, uncles, and the children who were brutally denied their right to live because they were Tutsi.
Ihorere Rwanda, ihorere Rwanda, amarira warize arahagije.
Today we light a candle, a light of hope and remembrance. This symbolized the courage and resilience of Rwandans the last 28 years.
Ihorere Rwanda, ihorere Rwanda, amarira warize arahagije. Ihorere Rwanda.
Rwanda chose hope over despair and light over darkness. 28 years ago, Rwanda embarked on the path of unity, reconciliation, and peace building. muRwanda.
Ihorere Rwanda, ihorere Rwanda, amarira warize arahagije. Ihorere Rwanda.
In addition to the extermination of the Tutsi, systematic rape was also widely used as a weapon of war. And during the genocide against the Tutsi, the numbers of women who were raped in the genocide is unknown, but according to Association of Genocide Widows, the estimated number is between 250,000 and 500,000. Rape of women was considered another way to destroy the Tutsi ethnic group through both emotional pain, so the woman could die of sadness, and through the health programs that would be a result. Many women were abandoned naked in the street after to endure what I can describe with words. Some did not even have to succumb to the aftermath of rape, as they will immediately killed right after. Young girls were mainly at the mercy of the militia groups, who will allow unterdrückt themselves and often raped and discriminated. I decided to dedicate this room to Umwizerwa. Umwizerwa was survivor of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994 in Rwanda, returning her heavenly home 25th May 2020 following a brief illness. But Rose has been suffering for many years. Rose lived and fought with strength during the 26 years of suffering. She was able to keep her smile until 25 May 2020 in the morning, being paralyzed just after the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994 in Rwanda, following the consequence of moral and physical torture, all kinds of humiliation, verbal sexual abuse, raped by multiple men during the genocide against the Tutsi, and she was infected with HIV. Cecilia Kabuguza was the daughter of Clave Kabuguza and Agnes Kabuguza. When she was informed that the ones of St. Paul will relatively safe, she decided to leave where she was hiding and to go at St. Paul Patrol Center, Pastoral Center. Unfortunately, while going there, she met a group of Interahamwe who ignorantly killed her. Till now, the ones who killed him have refused to show where they put her body, denying her a distant grave she was raped before being killed. Seraphine Musabe, Seraphine was a Mukono by clan. She was a daughter of Rwabudadi, Al-Kodiner, son of Rwabigwi, son of Nyagahinga, son of Senda Jigita, son of Rushibali, son of Ngayabarusha. Her mother was Saverina Mukagasana, daughter of Ngirumatse, son of Rukangabayombe, son of Kutendeli, son of Kuhongondolo, son of Nyarwaya, son of Mazimaka. In April 1994, Seraphine was cut with machetes by Interahamwe without denying it. She taken at Nan's home where she got some medical care. She was getting better until 22nd May 1994 when the Interahamwe called Mudakuwana, mayor of Ruhasha, took her from a hiding place and gave her to other Interahamwe who were at barracks. They tortured and abused her the whole night, and the next morning, Interahamwe called Kanyepeo threw her into a public toilet which was not far from the barracks. Hyacinthe Rwanga was called Hyacinthe Rwanga. She refused to have sex with Father Wenceslas Nyeshaka, a Catholic priest. He asked the Interahamwe militia to kill her on 17 June 1994. She was only 20 years old. Wenceslas Nyeshaka was not punished until today. Adria Lusingiza, also known in Dragand, she was from the clan of Abanyiginya and sub-clan of Abanyigitori. On 12 May 1994, Adria was killed by a group of Interahamwe at Kimilongo. It was so sad and unfortunate because only 2 days after she was killed, the RRP liberated the area where she was killed, saving ones who were still hiding there.
Thank you. One of the top performing countries in the nation, and also social workers. Today, we see young people, women, standing up to make a new name for the country. I can say this as an example. I have a daughter who is 9 years of age. She asked me on the dining table when we were seated a few days ago. She asked me, are we Tutsi or are we Hutu? Who are we? I told my 9-year-old daughter, looked into her eyes and told her, we are Rwanda. And that's why today, all Rwandans, everybody, we are Rwandans people. With all that said, during 1994, there was media on Lagos, as the former speakers did. They said their speeches and the newspapers were all promoted hate speeches on the media. There was Lagos, newspapers, all this, they have been promoting the genocide and hatred. Today, we don't have radios. We have something called YouTube. People are promoting YouTube, preaching hate. And I can tell you, 20 minutes from here drive to the city of Roskilde, here from the building of Copenhagen. There's a lady called Mukanyiko Selve. She's preaching hate, saying, kill Tutsi. The same speeches were being promoted during the genocide 1994. So there was no radio today, but there's a YouTube, 20 minutes on the side of Denmark, 20 minutes from here. So we ask, please, friends of Rwanda, diplomats, member of parliament, government, please, we as a Rwandan community, we have survivors who have gone through genocide. The Maxim has given a testimony, many young people have given a testimony. Please, look into the issue. Many people who survived genocide, who are among the community, are being threatened, with the YouTube's hate speeches by Sylvain Mukanyiko and her fellow group, which is being broadcasted around the world. So thank you. We remember as we build ourselves. Kwibuka can't Kwibuka. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have remarks by the Danish government representative, Mrs. Signe Skovbage Winding Elbjerg. She's the head of Department for Africa Policy and Development in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome.
Thank you. This is very powerful. Ambassadors, distinguished members of the Rwanda community, ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored and also very humbled to participate today on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in this 28th commemoration of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. I am, as you say, representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Director for Africa, but as of September this year, I will also be posted as ambassador to, among other countries, I thank the Embassy of Rwanda, to the Nordic countries, and the Rwandan community in Denmark for inviting me to take part in this important event. On 7th April, we marked that it was exactly 28 years ago since the genocide against the Tutsi began in Rwanda. What followed were 100 days of darkness of a scale difficult to comprehend. We must never forget those 100 days of hell in Rwanda. Denmark stands with the Rwandan people in its unity and its efforts to make sure that such atrocities do not happen again. Only by remembering, reflecting, and committing to a better future can we learn from history and honor the victims of genocide. At all periods of history, genocide has inflicted great losses on humanity. This line comes from the preamble of the United Nations Genocide Convention of 1948. And those words are unfortunately no less true today, even if written more than 70 years ago. Today we remember and pay tribute to the many people who tragically lost their lives during those horrible days in '94. We grieve with the families whose losses endure today. The intentional and murderous targeting of a specific ethnic group, as was the case of Rwanda in the genocide against the Tutsi, was a dark chapter of history. It also showed how we failed to deliver on the promise made after the Second World War of never again allowing genocide to take place. Denmark stands with Rwanda in its continued efforts to unite as a country. Ensuring justice to victims and indictment of perpetrators are central in Rwanda's search for healing and unity as a country, and in bringing closure to families and friends of the many victims. Denmark has provided close cooperation with Rwanda on the prosecution of genocide suspects. A fair and transparent trial for those accused of taking part in the horrific actions of the genocide is right for all parties. I hope that today's commemoration can serve not just as another recurrent reminder of the horrible actions that took place 28 years ago, but I hope it would also serve as an opportunity to reflect on and discuss how we make sure that history does not repeat itself. I thank you.
Thank you. We would like to have given you a testimony, but we're struggling with the internet. So we will see if we can reconnect and move meanwhile to remarks by Ambassador of Rwanda to the Nordic countries, the Honorable Dr. Diane Ishuma. Welcome.
Dear representative of the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, heads of missions, and representatives of international organizations, dear friends from the Rwandan community, On behalf of the government and the people of Rwanda, let me start by thanking all of you for coming here today to commemorate for the 20th time the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. We are deeply honored to have you over here. I thank Honorable Sinkadar for hosting us for the first time in these premises of the Danish Parliament. I also thank David Maximo and Nicola, the whole group who supported the Rwandan community here in Denmark in organizing this important ceremony. Our deep appreciation to the Rwandan community from Uland, who traveled from very far to come pay tribute to the victims of the genocide against the Tutsi and comfort survivors and all Rwandans affected by the genocide against the Tutsi. We are here to remember, and we remember more than 1 million lives that were killed in Rwanda, including newborns, yes, people, pregnant women, people living with disabilities, patients admitted in hospitals, and many other innocent people that were killed just because they were Tutsi. They took away the most precious resource of any nation. Today we pay tribute to our loved ones, and we pay tribute to exterminated families like said by Umuhango. We hold our hands and bind our hearts together to show love to all those who survived the genocide against the Tutsi, with their indelible scars, disabilities, depressions, because of 100 days of torture and rape. We are here to dry their tears. To Humuza and the others who say, this day reminds us to never ever forget history. This day reminds us that we should never forget that Rwanda has learned the hardest lesson a nation can ever go through. The 1994 genocide against the Tutsi was the last of a long series of persecutions of Tutsis, including in 1959, 60, 61, 63, 64, 73, 90, 91, 92, 93, which are very familiar years to every Rwandan, even for those who chose to close their ears and eyes to the truth. We all know what happened during these years when Tutsi homes were burned, when their cows were killed or stolen, and their lands taken away without any shame or consequences, and under the watch of the international community and the killing government. During this time, a Tutsi was required to have authorization in order to move from one district to another, which shows the premeditated plan to hunt down the Tutsi. Tutsis were denied basic human rights in their own country. They were not allowed to move freely, not allowed to have a passport, not allowed to study freely, except to fill certain quotas, and of course they were not allowed to be Rwandan. They were denied the right to live. As said and as shown in the videos, radio stations from morning to evening were used to dehumanize Tutsi, calling them poachers and insisting that they needed to be killed like insects. Hate propaganda delivered through newspapers encouraged hatred and violence against the Tutsi, particularly Tutsi women who were portrayed as femme fatale and agent of enemy. And some of us still wonder, can words lead to disaster? The answer is very clear. They reminded us of what hate speech and discrimination led to in Rwanda. As we heard from today's panel discussion and testimonies. I thank all the panelists. I thank Sugira for the nice poem. I thank Humuza for his courage and the powerful testimony, and to be able to speak of such painful memories. It is very hard to comprehend that this is one of hundreds of thousands of such stories of survival. In Rwanda, we have a proverb that says, you cannot burn a house and hide the smoke. However, not surprisingly, today, genocide deniers and negationists, many who live freely in Western countries, have an interest in distorting the story of atrocities they committed against the Tutsi. These deniers try to excuse the inexcusable and distort the history lived by many. Some take advantages of the citizenship Western countries gave them and the vacuum of laws criminalizing genocide denial and hate speech in order to keep preaching hate, as T has just highlighted. My question is, what does it take to differentiate between freedom of speech and hate speech, and to introduce clear laws that criminalize hate speeches and genocide denial? This would protect the entire world, as what happened in Rwanda can really happen elsewhere. Rwanda has chosen the path of truth, justice, and reconciliation. To quote His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, Rwanda may be a small country, but we are big on justice. We tried and convicted those who participated in the genocide against the Tutsi. Those who served their sentences and asked their victims for forgiveness for the crimes committed were forgiven, and they were integrated into society and given equal access to all available opportunities. Our country, Rwanda, removed the death penalty from the penal code and discarded all ethnic labels. The Rwandan government has made it so that no child of a genocide is punished for the crime of their parents. But this doesn't mean that perpetrators of the genocide against the Tutsi will go without answering for their crimes. Absolutely not. There should be no safe haven for the genocide. Genocidaires must answer to their crimes against humanity, their crimes against the Tutsi. They cannot be allowed to escape justice and continue to haunt Rwandans now living abroad in countries that gave them a new start. So for this, I really want to thank the Danish government for pursuing justice and holding genocidaires hiding in this country accountable for their crimes of genocide. Allow me to talk about the brave people who stopped the genocide. The Rwanda Patriotic Front, a group consisting of young women and men who had grown up without a country, grown up as refugees, they stopped the genocide and invested considerable effort in reestablishing peace and security, enforcing unity and reconciliation, and restoring societal cohesion, fighting genocide ideology and other discriminatory biases. Many of these Rwandans have had their own experiences as refugees since the late 50s and were denied returning to their country by the killing regime that has said Rwanda was too full. Tutsi were denied their right to a country, but as we have experienced injustice, we chose to not stand by as injustice is done upon others. We owe the rebirth of Rwanda to those countless lives that were lost and to the survivors who still bear the indelible scars, both visible and invisible. We owe the rebirth of the country to the Rwanda Patriotic Front in Montagny that stopped the genocide, and to everyone who continued the RPF core vision. Rwanda is now a country free from discrimination and dehumanization, a country whose resilient people support the vision of never again. Rwandans remain stronger than ever before and continue to work together for our prosperous future. I will close by once again thanking Honorable Sinkada for hosting Kwibuka for the first time ever in the Danish Parliament. I want once again to take this moment to thank you, Daddy, Mikala, myself, and everybody gathered here for supporting us. And I really want, as an ambassador, to tell all the Rwandans gathered here, let's stay together, let's fight for our country, let's support the vision of our country, let's fight for beautiful Rwanda, let's remain resilient, let's love each other.